In this video I'm doing a town hall, Minutemen Town Hall government style building, kind of in the theme of old world Boston, but also like trying to make it enough sanctuary that it kind of fit into the what would be imagined like as lore friendly, which I'm trying to do for all my videos. And so to start, I used these concrete bunker mid-floor ceilings, which I like them as floors because they look kind of like poured concrete. And I imagine that while they wouldn't be able to like lay laminate floorings and things like that, they would actually be able to pour concrete, because I doubt that the process of making concrete was lost to people. If it was, I'm sure they could rediscover it pretty easily. And then I wanted to use this blue metal because it's kind of like the houses that I tore down and stuff like that, kind of the imagining that we're using that metal that they used. And so kind of give it a sanctuary theme, old world style. I think it works out well. And so my initial idea for this is I wanted to have like a place for all the Minutemen to kind of work from. Like a place for them to do all their office work, a place for them to gather and talk and meet with the general and with Preston, which I'm kind of giving him his own special position, even though technically he's just a normal Minuteman, but he's a quest giver, and it'd be nice to have him in one central location instead of running around all over the settlement. And so this is of course one of the few buildings that I'm going to work with. I'm also going to build like an armory and possibly like a police station style thing, which more Minutemen would be in. But I wanted to start with this because I felt like this is going to be a very large building. I wanted to go ahead and build it, that way it can take up the space it needs, and then from then on I'll build whatever else needs to be added. Here I'm starting on the stairs, and I wanted to do like a more traditional like housing, or possibly what you would see in a town hall style with the stairs. I really liked these stairs, but it was also the only one I had that kind of fit the style that I was going for. I used these stairs from the real estate portion of the Snap and Build mod. I tried to use some from the Snappy builds, I believe, which had like the rest of the stuff for this build, but they only went in one direction and I wanted them coming from both sides, so I had to use these. And so they're very modular. You know, you can do whatever color you'd like. I just personally felt that black contrasted well with the white insides, and it just looked good. And then I wanted to build a pathway, kind of like an elevated pathway throughout the building. And so I really like these bunker hill ceilings because they kind of give that old feel that you'd see in a Capitol building, but they're also realistic and lore friendly enough that I felt like I could use them. And so I wanted these two upper sections to be offices for like the more important people, so basically for the general and for Preston. And so I went ahead and built the pathways over them. I felt that the room was small enough and that the building was small enough that I didn't really need supports, so I just went ahead and built them like this. And of course I'm sticking with the blue metal theme for all of the entire building, because I feel like that's what they'd have access to, and I don't feel like it would look good if I swapped over to like junk stuff inside of a nice building like this. Some other buildings, sure, but this is the Capitol building, not Capitol building, but the Town Hall building, and I just feel like it'd be excessively important, so they'd use all the best materials they had available to them. And so here I'm starting on this ceiling, but I'm only starting on the ceiling because I really want to do an overhang out here, outside, because I feel like that just kind of comes with the whole town hall style. They really look best when you have a nice overhang and some pillars, which I'll be putting in momentarily. It was actually a little difficult to try to put all this stuff up. I don't really have any of the mods or even, I guess, the know-how to make these a little bit easier, so I tend to just do it the best way I know how, jumping or using stairs. I eventually changed, I think, 2 of these columns out, but I liked how these looked, so I wanted to use those for now. You'll see towards the end, like when I do the preview, that I actually changed the 2 corner ones out for 2 stone ones. And of course I wanted to fill in the entire ceiling, and I felt like I could just continue using those ceilings because they looked good. Yeah, I noticed that I didn't really like the way that window looked, so I wanted to swap the windows, but I also felt that using 3 sets of 2 windows was a little too many windows, so I wanted to change those out. And of course I just felt like that was a good place for windows, because you could step up and look out the front of the building, and I think it would look good from the outside, so I went ahead and did that. So now I'm gonna go ahead and do the trim along the top of the building. Like I said, I don't really have any mods to make it easier to do that, and I also don't like to cheat, like using fly commands and stuff like that. So I went ahead and built up here and built it. For me, I felt like these railings on top of the pathway were extremely important. They were kind of a little bit difficult to get to snap together, so I had to kind of play with it to find exactly which one I wanted. But once I got it, I think that it looked really good, and so I think those are super important. I'm using the ones from the Snappy builds and the deco kit, the same deco kit which I got the blue metal walls. These are actually for the stairs that I would have used if they had both directions, but they didn't, so I went ahead and just used the railings since I thought they looked really good. I didn't bother with railings on the stairs because I didn't have a mod that would make them look good, and they wouldn't be, diagonal and stuff like that, or on an incline. So I went ahead and just didn't do it on the stairs, but I definitely wanted to do it around the pathway, and I think it really tied it together and made it look definitely more town hall-esque. Of course, there was a little poke through in those 2 offices, but I didn't really worry about that. And so here I'm going to show you a little bit of my decorating, and I'm also going to show you I made a change with the doors, and that was a pretty big deal because I felt like those doors kind of stuck out. And I was going to originally use those doors because they're, the front doors on the sanctuary homes, but after looking at them, they really are front doors, and I don't think they looked very good.
I really don't care.